All right, welcome back to a new video. This one is pretty much the pre-match analysis of what is going to be the SUPERCUP final, Spanish SUPERCUP final between Barcelona and Real Madrid. If you saw my last two videos, Barcelona beat Bilbao very, very convincingly, and Real Madrid got what was a 2-1 marginal victory, but overall really convincing in certain aspects of the game. Maybe not so much in attack, although they did take advantage of the attacks that they had. But it was what was most impressive about Real Madrid was their defense. So we're talking about a really, really solid defensive team with an explosive attack at many moments versus a very, very, very relentless attacking Barcelona team that has a defense that is very, very questionable, very, very volatile, and kind of iffy. It's not the easiest. It's not the easiest defense to defend as a fan. Like it's tough, and it's the defensive tactics that Hansi Flick likes to deploy, which is his offside trap, having to not have to give up the ball so much. They let the attackers get offsides, and then they recover possession in really high press situations, and then they have that they have the possession of the game. So let's talk about really quick what I think is going to happen. Now, if we go based off of the two lineups that I think are going to happen, which is the same lineup that Real Madrid has played in their last two games, which is Valverde at the right back, Asensio with Rudiger, although it's said that Asensio might have left with an injury. So we'll see. Maybe Asensio on defense might not be what the move actually is. I don't know what's going on with Housen. Did Housen play? I'm recording this right now, right after the Real Madrid game, by the way. So let's see. Did Housen play today as a sub or anything? No. Okay. Where is Housen? Was he on the? He was on the bench. Housen was on the bench. Interesting that they didn't play Housen. Alaba's on the bench. Carvajal was on the bench. Okay. So, back to this. So if I'm gonna assume that this is how it's gonna go, maybe let's look at this. Where's Housen? Do I have Housen here? All right. Let's put Housen here on the bench as well. And I don't want to. They said Trent is back, Alaba is back. I don't see them starting. Mendy is back. I don't see him starting. Carvajal is back. I don't see him starting. So I'm gonna leave it like this. Okay, with these two guys on the bench for Real Madrid. Okay, so Real Madrid I think is gonna come out like this. Courtois obviously, Federico Valverde. Raúl Asensio, Rudiger in the defense. Rudiger, for me, was the best defender out of the four, which includes Álvaro Carreras. In the middle, Tchouaméni and Camavinga are doing it really well. Two just really physical players in the middle to make it difficult for any midfield to get things done. Jude Bellingham, kind of like the 10, like the 9 behind the 9. Gonzalo at the 9, and then you had Rodrigo on the right and Vinny on the left. I think this is how they're going to go out. Although, against Barcelona, so that you can exploit this offside trap, I wouldn't be surprised if it happens like this. Where they put Vinny at a more attacking responsibility, not so much having to defend Lamine Yamal. Leave Jude to do the 2v1 versus Lamine, and have Vinny free here to exploit the offside trap that Hansi Flick tries to get their players to play, and sometimes they fail miserably in doing it. I think this is how we're going to see. And then, like I said, be careful that they don't say Gonzalo Garcia is going to start until the last possible minute, and then once Hansi Flick has developed his game plan, they do one of these. And I think that is the key to Real Madrid winning the SUPERCUP final. I think if for some reason Kylian Mbappe ends up playing, And especially if it's not announced that he plays until the very last minute, I think that can sabotage Hansi Flick's game plan for the most part. And I think that's a way that Real Madrid can win. But let's assume, like the news has been saying, that he's not going to play. Then it's going to be something like this. This is how I see it happening. For Barcelona, I see Balde and Condé on the fullback position. Eric Garcia is unreplaceable or irreplaceable on the lineup wherever he plays. Cubarsí also on the defense. So it's going to be these four guys, Pedri and De Jong in the middle. If we're talking about possession-wise, Barcelona wins this midfield battle. If we're talking about physical-wise, I think Real Madrid is slightly better, especially if Jude Bellingham tucks into the middle. Three very physical, tall players. Fermin, you put him in here, and you have control over the midfield. I think Barcelona wins the control. I think Real Madrid wins the physicality. Rafinha will have to go against Valverde, or rather, Valverde will have to go against Rafinha. Here, I see a hard time for Real Madrid. And this is why maybe there's a chance that we might see Carvajal. Maybe even, well, no, Fran's the left back. Yeah, let's just put Carvajal here. Let's say this right here, and then let's say Raúl doesn't play. This right here can present more of a hard time for Rafinha than what Real Madrid has been doing. But let's go by what they have been doing. All right? We still don't know. I might make a second video once I know the lineups. But right now, if I had to guess right now, based off of how they've been playing, this is the thing right here. And I think Rodrigo's not going to drop too much to defend Rafinha. You're going to have the overlap from Balde. This is going to be a hard time, I think, for Valverde and Asensio. But again, with these two monsters in the middle, put Bellingham right here, and all of a sudden, you have Rafinha's going to have a harder time getting this done. Okay, on the other side, let's put these guys back. On the other side, you have Lamine Yamal against Álvaro Carreras. The last Clásico, Lamine, granted, was coming off of an injury, groin injury, and Álvaro pretty much pocketed him. And between Rudiger and Álvaro, with Bellingham, I think you can stop Lamine Yamal. I think you can. Now, this is going to be the ace of spades for Barcelona, I think, in this situation. Because if you have these three players, or at least these two players, with Lamine, Condé is going to be very careful with Vinicius, I think, is going to be one of those things. So I think these two players are going to be... Pedri's going to have a hard time with this midfield too. Look, man, I'm really analyzing this game the way any of these two coaches would. I'm not saying that it's going to be a really, really particularly easy time for Barcelona. I think with how I see things, Vinny might get his goal in the final. Rodrigo might get his goal in the final. And like I said, be careful that they don't sub out Gonzalo and put in Kylian Mbappé. And I think Real Madrid wins this game. It's going to be tough. I don't think there's going to be that many goals. Maybe a 2-1 again. Ferran is going to have to deal with these two players. It depends what Rudiger's job is going to be. Is Rudiger's job going to be to cover Lamine and help out here? Or are they going to do the whole Bellingham with Carreras? Condé is going to be here, but like I said, Condé is going to be watching out for this player right here. So it's going to be tough for Condé to do too much on attack. You'll have this guy here, Camavinga covering him. Pedri versus Tchouaméni. It's going to be one of these things. It's going to be a 2v2 in the middle. Fermin's going to have to attack if Lamine is being double teamed here. If Rudiger goes with a triple team, then Fermin might be that player that makes the difference. But if you have this double team going on right here, Lamine Yamal, it's going to be kind of Rudiger watching out for Fermin. Asensio watching out for Ferran, which can be done. This is going to be the hardest part right here. Can you stop Rafinha? But Rafinha is not he's an explosive player on the counter. But if you're talking about a low block, Rafinha is a lot less lethal in a low block defense when you have to break through the defense. The most important player in that situation is going to be Lamine Yamal. Like I said, they're going to be paying attention to him. It's going to be, De Jong. I wish De Jong would just rip it from the middle every once in a while, man. Just keep this team on their toes, because neither Pedri nor De Jong does what Valverde does in the middle, where, oh, you gave me space, let me try it. Bam! I wish these two players were like that. Pedri's not that type of player. De Jong should be, though, and he's not. So that's the tough part. Eric Garcia sometimes tries it, and when Gerard Martin is there, he actually tries it a lot. That would be interesting to see if they put Gerard Martin instead of Eric Garcia. Balde's mostly an overlapping guy, and Condé is an overlapping guy too. He gets into the middle and stuff like that, but he rarely takes any shots. I think, besides that goal in the Copa del Rey final, I never really see him take that many shots. It's mostly crosses or meeting the cross for a header. I think this is the key right here to the game. And with this, looking at how these two teams match up, what I think is going to happen, I really do think it's going to take place here in the middle. Whoever wins this middle battle keeps the ball. But, we know from experience that Real Madrid doesn't need the ball to make goals. They don't need the ball to make a difference. They just need to get one or two lethal attacks through Vini, through Rodrigo, through Mbappe if he plays. Yeah, I think that's right there. And then Barcelona's got to be very, very careful in the set pieces where Real Madrid does exceptionally well. We're looking at a really, really, really tough game. Man, imagine this game goes to 0-0 to penalties. It's hard to believe with this Barcelona, who is just so good on attack. But I can't really tell you right now. Just from looking at this, I can't tell you what I think this game's going to be. All I know is I don't think there's going to be that many goals. I think it's going to be a much closer game to a 0-0, a 1-0, a 2-1, maybe a 2-0. Very tough to call this one. Maybe as the days go on, we learn more about Mbappe, we learn more about Danny, about Trent, about Dean Huysen, Hausen, about Ferland Mendy, and we'll know a little bit more about Asensio, if he got injured or not, and we'll know a little bit more about what's going to happen with Real Madrid. I think if I had to bet on Barcelona going out in a certain way, it's going to be like this. It's either going to be like this or Frankie on the bench, Eric in the middle, and then Gerard Martin right here. I think that's the biggest change that they'll do. Now, what would be interesting to see is if Barcelona decides to start off with either. We have Gerard Martin here as a possibility. Lewandowski is a possibility instead of Ferran. Rashford is a possibility instead of Fermin. Not instead of Rafinha, and I don't think they'll do that. I think it'll only happen if maybe Lamine can't play. They won't start Bargy. They'll probably put Rafinha here and Rashford here. That's the only way I would see Rashford starting in the starting lineup. I don't know. I don't see it happening. I think Hansi Flick is very loyal to his game plan. And the other player that might play is Dani Olmo instead of Fermin. You leave Fermin on the bench for something more explosive if you need something off the bench like that. Christensen's injured. Marc-Andre is injured. So Szczesny obviously on the bench. I don't think Ronald Araujo plays yet. Dro's not going to play. Bernal, Casado, you're not going to see them. Joffre Torrens either. Rooney might be one of those subs that you might have on the bench. And those are the 5 subs that I see Barcelona making. As for Real Madrid, I see them using. They're gonna have Alaba. I don't see them using them. They might. Oh, you have Guler. Here you have Danny. You could put Danny right there in the subs. Fran maybe. Mendy. If I had to guess, what are gonna be the 5 subs, not including Mbappe? Not including Mbappe just because he's supposedly injured. I just have him there as a hypothetical, if he were ready to play the game, he could be the difference maker. This is how I see it right here. Let's put Mbappe in the fold. Right there. Boom. Okay? This is how I see it. Dani Ceballos is not going to beat any of these to the starting role. Arda either. Hausen might beat Asensio to the role. Like I said, Carvajal instead of Valverde. But then if Valverde is not playing on the right back, he is going to play here. And it would be just to avoid having to defend a player that's really good in a position that you're not really used to. So I think that's where the difference can come. And then Mendy is going to be a sub. I don't see him starting over Carreras. Dani Olmo maybe over Fermin. Could happen. Lewandowski over Ferran. It could happen. Just to have these two players off the bench would be amazing for what could be a really long game. Gerard Martin, so that if you want Eric here and you want Frankie on in the bench. Rashford is only in the case that Lamine is not there. I don't think they'll start Rooney in a Clásico. I think they'll start Rafinha here and Rashford on the other side. And that's how I see it. Nothing, no more changes than what we're seeing here. And yeah, guys, get in the comments. Tell me what you think the results are going to be. Remember to subscribe. Remember to click the bell. Remember to like. Give me anything you guys got. You know, like sometimes you might be watching this and have a free hand and just click the like button. And if you don't, that's fine. I hope you enjoyed listening to this. I hope you enjoyed watching it. I hope you enjoy me giving you guys my brain vomit of what I think is going to happen. But tell me, like, what do you think the result's going to be? Do you see Barcelona favorite? Do you see Real Madrid favorite? Who would it go to? Like, who is it more important for this title to go to? Is this an important title? And all that stuff. Get really creative in the comments, and I'll try to shout you guys out if it's something worth talking about. All right. But until then, I'll see you in the post reaction of this game. And as always, Visca Barça. I hope they win. Let's go, guys. See ya.